Yeah. Check. I don't know if that's what you call it, but that's what I'm calling it. Yeah. Check. 1, 2. You better. Yeah. Check. And no real signal. No fundamental signal. 1, 2. 1, 2. Yeah. Check. 1, 2. The sub is just the 1, 2 sub sign.
No, it's too low. I want to try. Then we put it back here for you. Okay. Give.
Trying to get his attention.
It worked. That totally worked.
Because now when we get angled down, and that's making it face even lower than it was before.
Yeah, we got less.
Is that?
Good, how you doing?
Good.
I can see it.
Hi, guys. Good. How are you?
Looks pretty good, huh? Okay, guy. Oh, well. All right, let's get these guys.
Okay, now see what's happening. Now is it any better? Check. 1, 2. You good, Ina? Solo would just be.
Shut that gate. There we go.
Now see what's happening. Anything happening over there? Sounds normal? Okay. Check. 1, 2. Yeah.
I'm gonna put it in -5
Check.
so we have some room to go.
Yeah. Okay. Check. 1, 2. Check.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is beta testing area. So should I stick this guitar in back here next to yours?
Hey, Hawks, you getting the keyboard through the wedge? With the front of house? You hear keyboards? Can you hear the keyboards in this right here? Hey, Chris, go ahead. How are you? Yeah, get better. About 90%, 80%. I mean, yeah. Is that coming out? Okay. Is that coming out of the main? Yes. Definitely out of that wedge. Go ahead. Play that again. Yeah, it is. How many vocal mics do we have up front? We're gonna want 3, right?
Is this
We got 2 at the time. Scott, are we gonna want 3? I think so. Do you have an extra stand or a mic? I don't know.
I'm not sure either.
Cables. I see a stand and mic. I'll look at the truck.
Or actually, I think it would be in this bag.
I think I have one if you need it.
Yeah, we're gonna need it.
Okay. I have everything else. You know, all unused tracks are muted in case somebody plugs stuff in and wants to line it.
Check. 1, 2. 1, 2.
I'm gonna put a second acoustic together. I brought mine. I'm just gonna play with guitar. My thing is, guys, I'm gonna try to keep it low. Maybe like 1 click up.
That might be the 2 clicks we got.
While they're coming, another percussion seat in here. Yeah, you know what? Put this bag into it. There's nothing you guys are gonna use. Then we're gonna take the rest of the bag and stick it I don't
I think we're sticking in the garage.
everything waiting on
Yeah, he'll be okay. I'm sure.
You know what?
Is that a mic cord for you, Ben?
Oh, that's, yeah, I didn't think of that.
I do have a cable and a mic.
I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm
Dave.
being more
Hi Dave, I'm Neil.
Yeah, good to see you.
Is there any kind of a plan?
Not a huge plan. Hopefully everybody who wants to play will everybody wants to play.
I assume that like there's going to be a little
Yeah, I think somebody,
service of some kind.
Yeah.
People say nice things.
yeah.
appreciate you.
And then it's is there a better place to? I'm just texting now. I can put it in the garage. Whatever.
Whatever you like. If you want to put it in the garage, feel free.
Exactly. And then there's no real plan of who's going to play.
I don't think so. I think there's definitely a program in place for who's speaking and, yeah.
Well, there's and I think the growth
So if you want to do organ on this, basically just play some music in each of these categories.
Okay, great.
I don't think we're gonna hit 2 o'clock.
It's not.
You know,
I mean, some people will play as an intro before the program starts.
yeah, I think we'll play a little bit of music for like half an hour or so as soon as we start.
And then the program, and then a little more music after that.
No, that's perfect, dude. Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, let's do it. No, we should play right now.
Yeah,
Alright, so.
I stuck my horn over there. Oh yeah, I didn't know. Mine, I just put it in the garage.
It's all kind of loose. They're like,
You guys
I don't think so.
Chris Hansen, he's really good. Back in the day. Back in the day. I don't sharp player, piano player.
Cool.
Most likely guitar.
So I think the way it's gonna work, I'm not sure, but I think like a few of us might play just a couple songs when people are arriving.
Right, yeah.
And then I think there's a program with like people speaking. Yeah, it's gonna sing a song. A good friend of Tim Twain is gonna sing a song that he wrote with Tim a few years ago. 5 months ago. And then a couple more speakers. And I think it's gonna be a producer after musicians play.
Yeah, I think that's the idea at some point we'll play something.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the basic
Okay.
framework.
That's
Turn into hopefully a lot of music.
we're musicians, I think.
Yeah,
Not much pressure.
Okay.
You can play this bass if you're rapping.
So,
Okay, cool. Hopefully it's just gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be. Hopefully everybody who wants to play can play. Yeah.
Jeff.
Okay, great. That's good. I got it. Okay. I might use that. Okay, cool. Just plugging it into the mag button now. Okay, great. Chris,
I can launch it while people are arriving.
Make sure that they
I don't know whose beer this is, but it's got a good build like it.
Seeing the there, John?
Yeah, that belongs to them, though.
But just ask if they.
Are there other outlets back there that we can use? I know this belongs to.
Plug in here after this thing.
Yeah, we need two, one for the television, one for the computer.
We've got a power strip here. Does that work?
Yeah, is it okay with,
Oh, yeah.
with these guys?
Yeah, no problem. Go for it.
Okay.
Wait, is there another writer story?
One, two.
Lori? Laura, to answer your question? No. That was wet.
I think there's a tape.
I didn't even notice that yesterday.
That was at place too.
It's like a lot of this mess. Well, maybe this is.
Tim wasn't big on really.
Yeah.
Did we want to bring that guy?
He looked at Greenway, that's the ground line. So that's this, and there's no power in it.
So is that one hot?
The two cables, one plug.
You might just wait and place it later. I have you.
I've got another one of those orange things if that's helpful.
If you do it, that would be great, Ken. Thank you.
If we were smart, we would have shut that door. We weren't. Yeah, sorry. Maybe we can get it out. I got to split it. Oh, okay. Got it. And, you know, as far as base is concerned, there's base. Look, I feel the same way about my gears, so.
Here you go.
Thank you so much.
So where best to put it? Oh, you can just plug them all in here. You don't even need that. This will drag everywhere we need it to be.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. It's just past those people.
Okay.
Over.
Okay.
It's mic stand.
They can go into the Zoom. No, this is putting money in
So
This we could pull out of Tim's house.
let's talk about this.
Well, but you know, a lot of this electronic stuff doesn't, you know that, it doesn't draw much power, so it's not a big deal.
I've thought
If we
about
had
you.
that many heaters plugged into it, yeah, that,
And let's put a pitcher of water up on stage.
Don't let anyone sweat on it.
That's right.
Scott, you got another XLR in there?
I always think about you though when I see that.
Get back there and start playing some.
All right.
Hey Paul, it's going to be a little while probably before they start. Paul's from stream.
Here, use my phone as using my phone as a
Paul, hello, Paul. I don't know if you can see me, but we're all thinking of you. Good luck with the baby.
even worse. Even more useless, comparatively speaking. Yes, you will. I'm going to take a leak while we're doing this, and then I'm ready.
Pretty cool, huh? I actually just acquired it. I was inspired by Jerry's guitars.
Yeah. How many minutes out are we? 5? Actually, I need 3. 3. I'm going to be.
tribute guitar that he made. He was an apprentice underdogger like
cool.
anniversary. He made some stars that are like picking out the trees and the forest.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so I'll send you the copy.
Are we gonna lose our dog at the front gate?
I'm gonna play electronic. Well, I brought both of them. Let's see what happens here.
Wow. We get some serious now. Yeah. That still needs support for this.
Okay, cool. Okay. So what's up, Leslie? Good? Yeah, that's yeah, I know I've been before. Yeah, we met him in Chicago.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be coming on a little bit. There's more musicians in our space, but hopefully everybody is filtering through. Yeah, awesome. The thought was we would start playing at 2. We're probably a little bit late, as most musicians are.
Music's late?
Yeah, exactly. But we're getting there. Let's see, what else to know? There's a bathroom straight through that door.
Okay.
The bar is over there.
Oh, good.
And then I think that's it.
Who's playing here?
Myself, RT plays percussion, Scott. I used to play on our front porch with Tim and our back porch with Tim all the time. 'Cause he lived so close, he used to bike up all the time with his guitar in his back.
This your place?
Yeah.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
No,
That's
no
so
problem.
nice of you.
Yeah, you bet.
So nice
But
of
I
you.
spent so much time with him on the front porch, and he recorded everything.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
I was just saying
I
too.
have a terabyte hard drive of his, and I think probably, I'm really hoping that everything is on there.
Oh, I bet there is. Yeah.
There's some gold on there.
Oh, there's gotta be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Took a while to go through a terabyte.
Oh God.
I guess a lot of, there are a lot of tracks as well.
Oh, there's so many tracks, and he was, I mean, he was really methodical, and he got some great recording, especially on that deck because there was a ceiling on the deck, and the audio and the acoustics would just carry through. It's
Nice.
such a rich tune.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun.
So have all these people played with him in one way or the other or not?
Oh yeah, definitely. Chris from way back. Who else from way back? Myself from way back. Yeah, and a bunch of other. There are more musicians than there are. There's Russ. Yeah, that's Russ.
Have we met John Johnson's dad?
I live right next to the street.
Oh, cool.
Nice streets.
Nice, dude. Hey, man. Good to see you. How you been? Good. Awesome. Yeah. Good. good. Yeah, there's so many musicians. The plan was we were going to start at 2, and then that didn't happen. But we're going to play for a little while, and then I think there's a whole program thing that's going to kick in, and then we'll play more. And hopefully everybody can rotate through.
Whatever happens.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll bring the beef.
Yeah, good.
Is there a spot for us to just throw
You
this
bet.
down?
Oh,
Should I
there's
go
so much
around?
gear
Should I
in
go
there.
around?
No, you're so close. We can make. Yeah.
You're all going to get on stage at once, are you?
You used to play with Tim as well?
Yeah, played. I moved here about 4 years ago.
Okay.
I played for these guys. Played a bunch of gigs.
Hello, how you doing?
Played a bunch of gigs together.
Okay.
And then I also I had a friend that I loved and immediately called him as my bass player. So I usually play with other bands, and this is a gig I booked for myself. I wanted him to come and help me out. I was like, absolutely. He showed up, did a great job, and then I played with him with these guys a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's cool. You know, musicians aren't really good at like explaining what they want.
Yeah.
And there were times playing with him when he would say, "Hey, here's, you know."
Yeah.
That kind
Yeah.
of communication of him sometimes. Being like, yeah, just like, hey, forward to like, here's like, you know, I really appreciate it.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. My name's Chris, by the way.
Chris, Russ.
Russ, nice to meet
Nice to meet you too.
We played a few times together. I don't know if you met Luke with the big stand-up bass that just walked in, but we played a few times. I was right by, and so we just, you know,
Jams
just
a
a
lot?
few jams. Yeah. I was telling Tim's dad, John, said he's got like a terabyte. Because I said like every time we play, we record like the whole session, you know.
Yeah.
So
He's
I'd
got
love to hear
terabyte
some of
music?
that. Yeah.
Over the
years, right? Yeah. I was like, there's got to be some gold on there, you know.
Totally, and you
All
know,
the different incarnations.
I mean, I'm sure it goes way back to cassettes and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah.
Cassette tapes and things like that.
Right.
How old was he?
I'm not sure. I want to say like mid-40s, something like that. Yeah.
That's a lot of music. So what do you play?
I play guitar.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And sing. Yeah.
Do you write your own stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
Play out much?
Not much lately. Taking like some time off of doing that. And just wanting to get like clear on where I wanted to go with it next, and sort of like when I will start playing in a band and do it again, you know, missing it. So
I can relate because I've been thinking, yeah, I play with a lot of people.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like, what I do, you know, I want to do something
yeah.
other than this.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what it is, but
Right.
I don't want to start trying to make music my whole life. Not just 40 hours a year.
Right. I feel the same.
Slowly transition into that. You know, whether it be teaching gigs and maybe like trying to sell like samples online, like I don't know.
Yeah.
Instructional stuff. How can I configure that so that to make it happen?
Yeah.
So that's when you're like, that's where I'm at too.
Okay. Awesome.
Let's start with that.
I have a couple students and I really want to teach it.
Do you? That's cool. I've tried teaching before.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
The breakthroughs are amazing. Like,
Yeah.
the kids, whatever it is, have the breakthrough.
Right.
Or you have a big breakthrough in how to explain it. Like
Yeah.
I'm teaching this kid, and all of a sudden I thought, I just found this new way of explaining this thing, and it was really great, man. I got it right now. I was in school, and like,
Yeah.
you had a breakthrough, he had a breakthrough. It's like,
Yeah. Hi. How are you?
Yeah.
To hear about your trip. Oh my God. Yeah, but still, yours is big. Okay. Yeah, it sure does. Yeah, feel free. Whatever you want to do, man. And the same thing with the bar. I feel a little bit bad if we don't have anybody kind of dedicated for it. But I like that. Yeah. 7 pieces. Plus Todd can come up with a case of a moment 18. And there's like 25 on it. I could also become a percussionist or anybody here at any point. I gotta take this one. Archie knows the shot. He lets me for it. Where's the limo? Check 1, 2. That's fine. Yeah. Hey, check 1, 2. Chris and Lionel, where are you?
Think I'll pack it in, buy a pickup, take it down to LA, find a place to call my own and try to fix up, start a brand new day. The woman I'm thinking of, she loves me all up. I'm so down today. She's so fine, she's in my mind. I hear her calling. See the lonely boy out on the weekend, trying to make it big. But can't relate to joy he tries to speak in. Can't begin to say. Oh. Got pictures on the wall and made me look up from her big brass bed. Now I'm running down the road, I'm trying to stay up somewhere in her head. The woman I'm thinking of, she loves me all up, and I'm so down today. She's so fine, she's in my mind. I hear her calling. See the lonely boy out on the weekend, trying to make it pay. Can't relate to joy he tries to speak in, can't begin to say. Oh.
a lonely boy out on a weekend, trying to make it pay. Can relate to joy he tries to speak and can't begin to stay.
All right.
Channel 11, 12, send one. Top red. Top red. Top red.
You like that one?
Top red. Top one. You got it. Easy chair. Easy chair. Okay, I got it.
You want to all come out the same thing?
Yeah. Easy chair. We're being fun.
So swift, rain falling in. Don't see you moving, cause gone what did. Pack up your money, put up your 10 more grand. You ain't going nowhere. Ooh-wee, ride me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Ooh-wee, we gonna fly down to the easy chair. Care how many letters they sent. Morning came, morning went. Pack up your money and your tent when you ain't going nowhere. Ooh-wee, ride me high. Tomorrow's the day that my bride's gonna come. Ooh-wee, we gonna fly down to the easy chair. Oh yeah. Find me a flute and a gun to shoot. Tailgate substitute. Strap yourself to the wheel. You ain't going nowhere. Ooh-wee, ride me high. Tomorrow's the day my bride's gonna come. Ooh-wee, we gonna fly down to the easy chair. You get scarred and his brother down. Could not keep on keeping off. We'll climb that bridge after it's gone. After go way past it. Ooh, ride me high. Tomorrow's the day that my bride's gonna come. Ooh, we gonna fly down to the easy chair. Ooh, ride me high. Tomorrow's the day that my bride's gonna come. Ooh, we gonna fly down to the easy chair. Tomorrow's the day that my bride's gonna come. Ooh, we gonna fly down to the easy chair. Ooh, ride me high. Tomorrow's the day that my bride's gonna come. Ooh, we gonna fly down to the easy chair.
Sounds good. Yeah. The whole thing down. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, pretty loud. Feels like up here anyway. I mean, people are talking, they're not running away.
I'm talking pretty easily, but it is loud.
Yeah, I just turned it out the wires.
Okay, that should be better. Alright. Yeah. One
What's the volume level? That's good.
I'm not blowing you out? Not too loud?
Oh boy. I knew I liked you for a reason. Remember that? Cassidy?
In Spirit of Two, you should not be playing loud, remember?
No, for sure.
I got nothing left by now.
You got that right? No, he would have been out.
You gotta make sure you can hear it.
Yeah, totally. Right.
Like, that's it, I'm out.
We remember those games?
Oh, yeah. We love the song.
Yeah, yeah.
I can relate.
Sure. Yeah. Long intro. Long intro.
I can see where the wolf has slept by Silver Tree. I can tell by the mark he left, you were in his dream. Oh, jog down, let's see. Oh, jog down, let's dream. But you were meant to be. Speaks the name you are born to be. Born to be Cassidy. Lost now on a country mile in a Cadillac. I can tell by the way you smile when you're going back. Don't watch the nighttime gleam. Don't grow the sports ground green. Pull the horn, the tap, the tambourine. Close the cup, the dark years in between. You and me, Cassidy. sweeter than ice. Cats go across the coffin. There it goes, and I hear she starts to cry. Fly like the seabird, scatter like lost word. Wheel to the storm and fly. Let your life proceed by its own design. Nothing to tell now. Let the words be yours. I'm done with mine. Fare thee well now. Let your life proceed by its own design. Nothing to tell now. Let the words be yours. I'm done with mine. Like lost word, wheel to the storm and fly. Very well, let your life proceed by its own design. Nothing to tell now, let the words be yours. I'm done with mine. Very well now. Let your life proceed by its own design. Nothing to tell now. Let the words be yours. I'm done with mine.
Yeah, grab a seat. All right. Okay, everybody grab a seat. We're going to go into the talking part of the afternoon here.
Yeah, good one, fellas.
What do you think? Yeah, and there's going to be, you know, like Diana singing.
Sure, yeah. Put something over that. You can put it in the drawer here if it reaches around.
You just gonna lay it on the record?
Oh, yeah, there's the cord. Let's just unplug the mic. Where's the other end of that? check, check, 1, 2, check, 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 1, 2, check, check, check. If you see, if you can find the other end of this cord, you can just plug it on the end of my cord. If you can just find the end of the cord, plug it onto my. It's in number 8.
This cord is in the number 8.
Oh, right, number 8.
It's in 8.
Check 1, 2, check
1, 2, check. Here we come. Here we go. Okay. PJ. Thanks.
Let's start with the moment of silence. I think Tim would have liked that. There's some 30 family members that have flown in from all over the country, and there's over 100 friends here. And this is the only time. This is the only time that we're all going to be together, and it's special for that reason, and it's also, of course, very special to celebrate Tim. Dave and Deli, can you raise your hands? Deli's there. Where's Dave? Back there. Those are our hosts. Thank you guys for having us here in the beautiful house. This summer was a sad one. On the first day of summer, we lost Tim, and you know, for all of us, summer's just like the most fun time of year, and you know, like here in Colorado, you're vacationing, you're definitely getting up into the mountains, and you're getting on the trails, and to have that guy with you, to get some windshield time or some hammock time or go deep into the wilderness, it was just like, for all of us, it was so amazing. He was the absolute best, you know, companion for those adventures. And so today, what we want to do is honor him, and I think kind of pick up some of the broken pieces and try to put them together, and maybe make some sense of kind of this loss, and find some light. And that's certainly what I think Tim would want for us. You know, the unique thing about this gathering is there's so many people that have no idea who was sitting next to him, because Tim, he was so one-on-one in his relationships with people, and it wasn't, you know, he wouldn't have maybe even pulled us all together like this, but we all got to be really close with him, and that's why we're here. And you know, in that closeness, we were a reflection of him, and he was a reflection of us. And so I think as we kind of look around here, there's a whole lot of Tim that's here in all of us. And it seems like the best way for us to honor him and maybe find something positive to take away from today is embodying some of the characteristics that we so adored in him. You know, the sense of adventure, the deep appreciation for music, the massive respect for the outdoors, endless curiosity and creativity, and caring. And so we've got a number of people that are going to get up and speak, and they put a lot of thought into what they're going to say. And it's kind of a between family and friends, an attempt at having a well-rounded picture of Tim. And thank you guys all for coming, and hopefully we gain a little light today and some clarity.
man. Good shirt.
Hi. I'm Rob Patterson. I like to think of myself as Tim's cosmic brother. I wear some of the same shirts, talk really fast, and get nervous in front of large crowds. So, if you can't understand me, please ask me to slow down. I won't take it personally. While I never choose this event, I'll take it. I'm very grateful to see you all in one place. To meet Tim's friends and family, I've heard about for decades, but actually never met until now. I'm glad he's finally throwing a mixer, you know, I've been waiting for this for a long time. Thanks, Tim. I live here in Boulder. I met Tim flying gliders here in the late 90s, and I first saw Tim when he showed up at the airport in a ponytail with green Doc Marten boots, and I knew immediately he was an outsider like me. He jumped in to help me look for a small tail wheel I broke off the train glider while landing it, and I immediately knew we'd be friends. Tim and I did a lot of things together. We go to the International Film Series on campus, frequent cheap happy hour deals for dinner at the Med, talk about girls' life and the universe. Tim lived with me in my funky mountain house for a year or two, and I'm really grateful for that. Those are really good times. And Tim and I had a really funny relationship, and it's more clear to me now, and if I only could have appreciated it as much as I do now when he was here. He was the yin to my yang. I planned trips, and Tim would come and make them fun. It usually involved fun things like mountain biking and snowboarding, and just usually things outside. Went to Burning Man a couple times. And so I'm an engineer, and I like the physical things to be under control and like perfect. And that wasn't Tim. Tim was all about the magic and being creative. And he knew that the moment was already perfect, and the physical stuff didn't really matter. So he was always so excited to be doing what he's doing that he'd just blow off the details and the gear and whatever, and I'd pick up the pieces. And it was just really a great partnership. I was so grateful to have had him. He showed me the magic was all around, like and the trees and the sunsets and just the bugs and everything, and creation, the mice, the rats, the raccoons, and the magic that flowed through Tim. I mean, I just was the most creative person I've ever met. Always, whether it was music or just tricks of the mind, or tricks of language, or just everything. It always was great. He jumped right in with my kids. They got him, and he got them, and he'd take the time to build sandcastles and make up songs and share the joy. And then, but it wasn't always perfect. Sometimes Tim and I get frustrated with each other. And I wasn't really happy that he left all the doors and windows open in my truck before the dust storm hit at Burning Man. It was like the inside of the vacuum cleaner bag after that. He wasn't happy that I ran over his guitar case in the desert in Utah. He stashed it under my truck and darted to the nearest sweet spot to play his guitar. I showed up later and began to fuss over the camp layout. I'm like, I said about positioning the truck for maximum shade, getting things dialed in, and I was trying to move the truck, and I had to put it 4 low to get over this rock. And it's like, okay, I'll just put it 4 low and get up over that. And then I found out that it wasn't a rock, but Tim came running like, dude, that's my guitar case. But in the end, it was all good. We shared a deep love for each other, and I just want to speak to you. This is drooping. Tim's passing has really impacted me deeply. Thank you. The process of grieving seems to have a mind of its own. It's been like a slap in the face from the universe to wake up. Loss. It hurts. It's gotten my attention. It's a humbling and vivid reminder that I'm actually not in control. Tim told me once if he wanted me to go on a trip where I was out of control. I'm like, what do you mean out of control? He's like, you're not in control of everything, man. Right, I guess this is it now. There we go. It's been quite a ride the last couple months. My losses show me how my ego gets in the way of love and connection. It's been a painful and useful lesson. will never be the same, and I'm grateful for that. I'm doing my best to be with and feel what comes. When I think of what won't happen again, or foolishly hold on to what or how I could have or should have done differently while Tim was here, I travel to the depths of my sadness. When I surrender fully to that, it's like a spiritual clothes wringer. The tears get squeezed out till I'm dry, and then something wonderful happens. I feel my heart open anew. And when my heart opens that wide, I open to the possibility that Tim is not forever lost. It was only shifted for. I do believe that he is now whole, free from the struggles of being human, free from the hassles of the physical stuff, free to be with the magic, the music, and love. It's from here that I'm able to just simply love him and be grateful to be his friend and for the gifts he has brought us. What seems most important is love and connection to ourselves, to the people we love, to this earth, and to life itself. Thank you, brother. I love you.
This room feels completely perfect for this occasion. I'm imagining Tim here, gazing out on all of us gathered, feeling a bit of awe. We are an exceptional and glorious tribe, us Tim lovers. If you take a moment and look around to see what he would see, to see what he did see in each of us, I think you'll be taken by our rare depth of love, presence, friendship, openness, of goodness. We are part of Tim's legacy. He chose us and he grew us. There isn't a heart or head among us here today who hasn't been shaped by Timothy John Eggert in ways big and small, vicarious and direct, who hasn't been opened by his seismic heart, awakened by his raw presence, tenderized by his sensitivity, undone and redone by his keen and inquisitive mind, attuned by his soulful rhythms and sounds, humanized by his extraordinary compassion, enlivened by his endless curiosities, ingenuities, inability to not innovate and create constantly. There isn't one of us who hasn't grown brighter by proximity to him. It isn't possible. He was simply too bright. We can't have been near to him without being called to higher levels of integrity, generosity, kindness, chivalry, caring, and creativity. If he were here today, I think he would want to say thank you to each of you. Thank you for the love, for the time spent together, for the music, again and again, endlessly. Thank you for the music. Thank you for the laughter, for the rides up Flagstaff, the insane views, adventures to Crested Butte, Utah, and beyond. Thank you for the camaraderie, for the kindredness, the getting him, and letting yourself be gotten. For the wicked musical licks and the shared pleasures of paradox and pun. I think that he would want to say that he was sorry for leaving without saying goodbye, and that he loved you, and that you had made his life immensely joyful, sweet, and meaningful. In my heart, I know that he would not want us to have regrets or be sad, not even for a moment. I know that he would want us to be even more brilliantly ourselves on his behalf, and to take him with us on all of our ventures and adventures, inner and outer, moving forward. I want to invite you to join me in committing to living more fully from this day forward on behalf of our beloved Tim. To be more brilliantly ourselves, more honest, more real, more free. To take more risks in our creativity and be more bold in our thoughts. To grill and garden a lot. Listen to NPR and Radiolab and the likes to expand our minds and our palates. To wear more snazzy outfits and be delightfully irreverent. To say more yeses, appreciate one another more, savor the music, to get out of our own way more often, to be fearless, to spend more time in the hammock under the stars, deeper breathing, bigger feeling, more daring to love, and to unabashedly wave our freak flags, because we have walked beside his brave, beautiful, brilliant, kind, gentle soul. To do this together on his behalf, because we love him. We love you, Timothy John Eggert.
I know that my life is it's a little bit more wonderful with Tim in it.
Trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Sorry. Skies of blue, clouds of white, bright, blessed day, and the dark, sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful the colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. They see fry bands holding hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. Hear babies crying, watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. Your baby's crying, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself,
Hi, I'm Georgine. I'm Tim's mom. Heather. And have this whole bouquet of flowers. You know, there are a lot of young people here today, younger than I. And there is a couple, and I'm looking to see if I can find them. They were Tim's neighbors. Oh, here. Here's the gentleman, and where's your wife? There she is. Okay. They are older and learned to love Tim. Tim loved them because they had to share gardens and flowers and creativity again. And as they came to join in celebration of Tim's life, they brought me these lovely wild flowers that I know Tim would just be so appreciative. So thank you each. First of all, I want to thank each of you for being here today to help celebrate Tim's life. It's really such a joy to be together. The severe pain, which seemed literally to affect my heart when I heard of Tim's death, is slowly dissipating. It felt as if my heart was growing and couldn't get out of my chest, and it was literally just painful. It seems as time has gone, this is slowly dissipating. And I'm sure that this gathering with all of you today will help heal that even more. It has been very difficult deciding what to share with you about Tim, but I feel I must, after reading all the beautiful memories so many of you have entered on his memory page. As you are probably aware, Tim was a very private person, never bragging about himself or repeating any conversations or secrets or whatever that he had with other people. I have been amazed at the friendships and stories you've shared. I have learned more about his adult life through you, and now would like to share with you some of mine in his young life. Oak Lawn, Illinois Hospital, December 1st, 1971, was his beginning. Who would have thought that the little 10-pound, 22.5-inch long baby boy, who the night nurse referred to as my little moose, my friend says it's a good thing he didn't have that nickname, but anyway, that he would grow up to be such a remarkable man. As a 1.5-year-old living in Chicago Ridge, Illinois, Tim demonstrated his love of dogs and their understanding of him. Our landlord's hunting dog, Polly, who Tim called Molly, would patiently hold her head still through the wide gate door as Tim would balance as many Matchbox cars as he could on her head. Then she'd move, off they'd roll, and they would start it all over again. At the same time, Tim developed his love of cleaning his house. Always a struggle, as many of you know. One day, I caught him in the hallway, removing a soiled cloth diaper soaking in a bleach solution in a tall diaper pail container. He then had a drink as he sucked hard on the cloth. After that was satisfied, he went and washed the walls. We often would go for car rides, which turned into spur-of-the-moment trips to Milwaukee to visit grandparents and aunties Nancy, Carol, and Lori. Age 2, in Lincoln, Nebraska, and another dog. Ex-police dog German Shepherd named Max, who lived next door, separated by a wire fence. We'd each save a bite of burger that had a pickle in it. Tim would laugh and laugh as he tossed each bite to Max, watch him take it in one gulp and spit out the pickle. In Lincoln, he cried, we iced it, and then went back outside, refusing to put his shoes on. So that's kind of how he lived his life. Age 5, we moved to Tehran, Iran for 1 year, where Tim was the only English-speaking boy in a nursery school of Farsi-speaking children. Of course, they all grew to love him. Our houseman, Jafari, loved the boy child, Tim, better than Carla. Sorry, Carla. Damn femininity! Joffrey lived in the attached garage, and his only conveniences in there was a cot and a hot plate, and there was an outside faucet that was inside that garage. Tim would be upstairs, we lived on the second floor, and he would announce, "I'm going down to Joffrey's for tea." And he would go in the limited Farsi that he learned while he was in nursery school, He asked Joffrey for tea. His friend would never refuse him. He would stop whatever he was doing and make him tea. I snuck down one day to see really what was going on. Of course, you know, the little teacups are about, you know, this big and that big around. And I walked in to see Joffrey putting 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 cubes of sugar in this little cup. And now I understood why Tim wanted to go and have tea with Joffrey. Tim had many experiences in his young life, including wanting to ride a delivery man's camel. All went well until the camel stood up. While Tim screamed, the man had the camel kneel down, and away we went, but not before the man made me pay the agreed upon money for the camel ride, which we really didn't have. Creativity continued even in Iran, where Halloween was not celebrated. Carla and Tim, dressed in homemade costumes, would go to one of 5 doors that we had down the hall. They would knock, say trick or treat, enter the room where I was, we'd close the door, and then we'd give them a candy. In the meantime, Dad John was off to the next room, changing into some kind of costume himself. We'd close the door, and they would go on. They would knock on his door. He would go in. They would do the same thing, while I ran to the next room and did the same. And we kept doing that for a very long time. It was so much fun. We didn't live near any body of water for swimming, so we made our own beach party up on the roof with a blanket. I had a beach ball. We had swimwear and picnic food. So that's how we celebrated a beach party. Age 6 to 7, we were in Manlius, New York, until Tim moved away with Pam and John to Illinois. But this is where he started growing physically and emotionally. He had a love of friends and respect for adults. He had gotten his ear pierced, then one day went to his friend John Kim's house. When he drove into the drive, he realized it was John's father, not John, standing in the driveway. He quickly pretended he dropped something in the car, removed his earring so that he would not offend Mr. Kim. Through his life, he had various modes of transportation: bicycle, car, glider plane, motorcycle. But it was when he was still delivering newspapers on his skateboard that he had a bit of trouble. At an overnight at a friend's, the 2 boys decided to go on a midnight skateboard ride to the next town to visit a girl. They left a note, because they were very responsible, saying where they were going. However, when they got to the next town, they were picked up by the cops for breaking curfew. Through all his life, his love for his big sister Carla grew. I don't know why. They had their disagreements, but closeness remained. One time, Tim was getting on Carla's nerves, and she chased him, yelling through the house. Tim got to the family room first, slammed the door shut, and then peeked it open, and he said, "Carla, I love you." I burst out laughing, and she wanted to stay grumpy, but she couldn't. She started to laugh too. Our recent get-together was over this past Easter break, when Tim, Carla, Forrest, and Ken came to our winter home in Floral City, Florida. Swimming with the manatees was on the agenda, then a pontoon boat ride to Shell Island, lots of frisbees, especially between Tim and Forrest, throwing bocce balls, eating, drinking, conversation, and we'll always be grateful that we had this time with Tim and the family together there. Tim took many adventurous trips. A lot of you know more of them than I ever thought of. Some of which I was aware, some not at all, and some which I heard about only afterward. One of the most recent was his rafting trip in the Grand Canyon. I received a phone call as they were loading the raft. Someone had asked, "Did everybody remember to call their moms today? It is Mother's Day." Tim called me, said to pretend to get the flowers he forgot to send, then had to go because his phone was getting the best reception and others needed to borrow it to call their moms. Love, tenderness, respect, enjoyment of animals, man, music, and children were a wonderful part of that which was Tim. I'm so glad we were able to experience and enjoy and love as we remember Tim in our own way in the shared stories and memories. Thank each of you for being here today.
I'm Rob, Tim's friend who lives in New York, and I don't know if you guys know, but it's raining. So if you want to go run to your car and sit in the car for a bit, this would be a good time. I was thinking this morning, like, if Tim were in this position, what would he do? So I'm just going to take a quick panoramic photo. And now I'm going to record this, and none of you will ever hear it. I'm not as well spoken or spiritual as a lot of the people who are here today, so let's dumb it down a little bit. And I don't have as much wisdom as Tim's mom or Tim's father. But I've known Tim a long time, and it was made clear to me that it would be nice if someone could speak about Tim before he got to Colorado. So I'm gonna try to fill that role as best I can. I want to just be blunt and honest and not sugarcoat things, because you guys might not realize this. I've known Tim for 30 years, and he was crazy. I'm going to just go chronological. We both moved to Chicago. I had moved from Los Angeles, and Tim from Syracuse in 1986. We spent a lot of time in his bedroom. It was a mess. We would listen to tapes of Joe Frank and Mary Black. We would spend a lot of time talking, which I know there's a lot of kids here today. People used to do that. They used to sit in their room and talk. We did a lot of that. And I remember one of the first times I was in Tim's house, and he was telling me that he lived in Iran, and I was like, that can't be true, but he had this hat, and it looked like believable evidence. And he picked up the hat, and under the hat there was this daddy long-legged spider that started climbing down the side of the dresser. And of course, I grabbed the magazine, and I went to smack it, and he grabbed my nose. "Dude, what are you doing?" And he put his hand down, and the spider climbed onto his hand, and we walked downstairs, and he let it go. And I was like, this dude is crazy. And he would prove to me over the course of the time that I knew him that he was the most crazy, compassionate person who walked the walk every day and could humble you with his open mind and his heart. And I think I heard earlier we should all commit to be better, and I think that's a pretty good goal to shoot for. Tim was also, I think some of you may know, Tim was kind of funny. When he was like 14, 15 years old, he could grow a full beard, which was pretty cool if you had to like score, you know, some Bartles and James or a 12-pack of Black Label. And of course, Tim would always use his natural resources in support of whatever he was doing, whether it was playing guitar or riding a bike or being funny. And he thought, and it was very funny when he came to school on Halloween with a crown of thorns, carrying a cross and sandals and white robe on. And I have to be honest, I thought it was crazy that he got suspended. Tim was also crazy talented in a million ways. And I'd like to say that when I first met Tim, I think almost, and you can back me up, Robert King, I was almost as good a guitar player as Tim, like in the very, no, okay, I wasn't, but I was like I could sing and play at the same time, and I don't think he could, something like that. But it was about 18 months, sophomore, junior year, when Tim would start taking these leaps with the guitar, and it was like I couldn't even talk about guitar with him anymore. And he would break open this fake jazz book, and he would start saying, "Dude, the fretboard's all connected. It's just the same. It's all in the modes." And I was like, dude, like it's redemption song. Things like G and C. And like, what do you need like the Mixolydian scale for? He was humbling with his talent. He was also, I said I wasn't going to write anything down, but I'm a little nervous. He was the one benefit, and I'm pretty jealous of most of you here today because, you know, having 2,000 miles between you and Tim, between yourself and Tim, made it really hard to stay in touch and really hard to keep track of what was going on. So I hear about these trips and the biking and the camping and and all, and the people got to play music and hear him play music, and greatly jealous for me. But there was something that I got, and that was time on the phone with Tim, where he didn't have to worry because I didn't live in town and I didn't know any of you, and I had good phone battery, and we would spend a lot of time on the phone talking. And it was generally 50-50 some of the time and 90-10 some of the others. But it was always mutually therapeutic for both of us. I told Mr. Eggert last night, who, Mr. Eggert, by the way, is the one who, Tim took me to my first Grateful Dead concert, Alpine Valley in 1987. But it wasn't actually Tim who took us, it was Mr. Eggert who drove us there and dropped us off to camp for the night. So I think you're crazy too. And then my dad picked us up and he was like, "What is going on here? You guys are crazy." But there was a time in 2005 where I was in a really, really bad place, and I was involved in a situation that was breaking me, and it was bad. And the only person I could really talk about it to was Tim, and so we had a phone call, and planning something with Tim, like getting together a trip or trying to get him to come to New York or come out here, it was always a lot of work, and it was very hard to pull it all together for reasons sometimes that I understood and sometimes I didn't. But we were on the phone, and I was telling him about what was going on with me, and he was talking me off the ledge, and I had all these crazy, I was going to seek revenge on these people who were wronging me, because that's what we do in New York. And I hung up the phone. I felt like a little better, and of course the next day woke up and was like not feeling good again. And the next day, Tim is standing outside my apartment with his guitar and a bag that was falling apart with his loofah hanging out of it. And I'm standing there and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, "Are you crazy?" And he's like, "Dude, like, you didn't sound good, man. Like, I'm here. Like, I'm like, dude, no, like you can't be here. Like I'm about to do some like wicked stuff. Like you, and he's like, no, that's cool. I just want to help. Let's just go do it. So we went on a 4-hour surveillance mission to go do something that was totally ridiculous. And about 4 hours into him supporting my crazy idea, he said, maybe we should go play guitars. Okay, cool. So we did, and that was one of about 100 times where we sat and played guitar in a park or in my apartment, and Tim made the most compelling and crazy argument to me that he believed that I was a great guitar player and that I had a great voice. And like I said, he was crazy, but he really believed that. And that's like a humbling thing, when someone is just honest because they know how important it is for you to hear it. And that's just goes back to Tim's compassion. He was not a great giver of gifts. He did get it right a few times. I don't have, if you were waiting for an anniversary card from Tim, it wasn't coming. Christmas present, whatever. But if you did receive a gift, it was always very personal. It was always very beautiful. And it always had way more meaning than whatever it was on the surface. And so Tim sent me a H4n Zoom recorder. Dude, this thing, it's unbelievable. Multi-tracks, you can bounce them back and forth. There's effects, you can record yourself, play, practice, record yourself, play. I took this thing out, tried to figure out how to use it. I started recording myself, I listened to it. Of course, he was wrong, it was not good. But I used that today to record my son. When he's 4 years old and he wakes up in the mornings like singing, and if I go in there, he'll stop. So I set it by the door, and I have this music from this thing this gift that he gave me. And I realized that I want to try to be a good father, and I've realized certainly over the last 60 days, but also over the last couple of years, that I would love for my son to have some of the qualities that Tim had. If he could be 10% as compassionate as Tim was, 10% as artistic, if he could experience 10% of the joy eating a pint of ice cream like Tim did, that he would live a happy life, and people would be tricked into thinking I was a good father. And I feel like that's a real gift that I have from him. Every time I look at my son and I think about what Tim represented to me, and what I always missed about Tim, and what I want to see in my son. And Tim wasn't much of a shopper. You couldn't go to the mall and go shopping, or he wasn't working Amazon. But he spent 20 years shopping for my last gift, and over the last 4 days I've received it, and it's meeting all of you, and it's being here, and it just means so much to me, and I'm so grateful. I consider you guys all my crazy fingers. See, dude, I had to do a Grateful Dead reference. I know, tacky, so tacky. Thank you very much. My condolences to the family. My love to you. My love to you. Thank you. And I'm just so glad that we can celebrate Tim, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about him.
You have a chair. Okay. we're gonna play really softly for Tim. I can't tell you how many gigs I played with Tim where he literally mid-song picked up his stuff and walked out. I'm like, is he really just picking up his bass right now and leaving? And turning around to Jeff and like, no, I think he is. And he's walking out and he's like, I can't, it's too loud. So we try to play softly for him, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
You got a,
When you need to sing, you want to pull it back down?
you have a line.
Lord? Bar? You need a bar.
Can you play your guitar? Yes.
We could just pull the wire.
Just pull the wire. Okay.
David, you sing too?
No.
He would have left it back.
Oh, turn the volume all the way down. Oh, yeah.
That's a real song.
That sounds good.
So Tim and I and a handful of the folks that are here today do an annual ski trip, and every year I secretly hope that it is going to be an opportunity for me to just hang back and play music with Tim, really just to listen to Tim play music and pick up whatever I can along the way. And this year I was finally successful. Maybe the snow wasn't good, I don't know. For some reason the gods smiled upon me and left me alone with Tim all day long. And really just Tim, you know, filling my mind with all of his music magic. And at the end of the day, probably because he could tell that my eyes were glossed over, he said, "Hey man, I've been working with these just two simple little chords. Let's just play these and we'll embellish and I'll play some lead and all that." And so we did, we recorded, and fortunately it was archived, and this, so this is that tune, and shortly after we lost Tim, I put a couple of words to it. Y'all ready? Yes, sir. Sorry, it's a little too loud. Just ain't the same without you around. No other colors muted the sound. We long for to hold your beauty and grace, bask in your glow and cling to your joy that you brought, but do Songs left to play and songs left unsaid. So go across the hill, across the divide, embrace the divine, continue the ride. Carry our love within your heart. We'll pick up the pieces, try and make it start. It just ain't the same without you around. Color the colors of you in the sound. Come for to hold your beauty and grace, bask in your glow and cling to your face.
Well, that was beautiful. Thank you. It's like hearing Tim play. There's so much of Tim that you've all brought with you. It's almost like, almost like see. I and the rest of our family appreciate the compassion that you brought to us and that you brought to Tim. And, the ability to reflect back, what Tim was, who Tim was. It's, I feel like I'm floating in a big bowl full of Tim. That's a good image, right? So thank you. I want to tell you a little bit of some things about Tim. Tim was a learner and a teacher, and I want to talk a little bit about what I learned from Tim, and a little bit of what he learned from me. When he was a few months old, you see this little thing with eyes darting, looking at this ambiguity and unknowns. Just what's out there? Trying to make sense of what's out there. And that's something I started to appreciate from that day, his capacity to see things in a way I would never be able to see them. That's probably true about everyone. But you just see that and you wonder, what? I will never be able to see the world like that little thing sees the world. What can I learn from that? What can I do with that blank slate? So I learned from Tim that the challenge of life is to comprehend, while knowing the world is always incomprehensible. The Pellables, I like to take walks with Tim forever, from the time he could walk. And when he's very small, he'd pick up a pebble and look at it, and you sit there and wonder, what
is it that he sees in that pebble that I can't see? What is so enjoyable, so engaging in that pebble? What does he know that I don't? I try and figure that out, and what I learned from him is a stone is never just a stone. Tim was compassionate. You've heard about that. He wouldn't kill bugs. He from the time he was small, the time he was old as he got. Wasps, spiders, they wouldn't be killed. He'd gently shoo them out. When he was, I don't know, 6, 7 years old, we were doing a little camping trip nearby and came across this baby bird fell out of the nest, and he couldn't understand why the best thing to do was to leave it be. It was very hard for him. Less hard for the chipmunk that he found in the yard. Tiny baby chipmunk, he brought it in and made a great pet for a long time until he became of age and realized the chipmunk that is became of age and realized that his job was to protect his turf, and he became a vicious chipmunk. I mean, it was a vicious chipmunk. We came into the family room, we always kept the door closed, and where's Ralph? And it came to be the nut pile of nuts would be in the corner. We'd put on boots, put on gloves, and go and wait for Ralph to charge. I'm not sure what happened to Ralph, but it was, we couldn't let that out in the neighborhood. Who knows what little kid would be attacked. We tried to get him into wrestling in later years in grade school, but he just couldn't see the sense of trying to subdue another human being. He'd gotta sit there, and that was no different when his relationship to his mice in his house and rats in his neighborhood. Since the flood, rats came from downtown to that higher neighborhood, and they didn't leave. He couldn't bear to see a mouse dead. He trapped them, let them loose. Finally, I have to say, in the last 2 years, he broke the barrier and he did away with a number of mice and rats. I suppose you could call that growth. I suppose I could call it realization that life isn't exactly the way you'd like to be, that there are conflicts. And what I learned from Tim is the life of any living thing is precious. Tim was, as you all know, a risk taker. Curiosity and risk really go hand in hand. And I had something to do with that, I'll admit. He was 3 years old, maybe. We were in Lincoln, Nebraska. Get up early one Sunday morning. His mom and Carla were asleep, and there's this very, very large field near our house. So we went to it, started walking, and we came to this, I think what was a very, very large ditch. And there's a big tree across it. So I said, "Look, hey Tim, let's see if we can go across." So I straddled it, I jumped up behind him, pushed him forward a little bit more, got in the middle, and all of a sudden it started to shake. And I thought, holy shit. What will his mother say? And so I tried to remain calm and backed off. We got back, and his sister Carla was in his mom's bed, and I asked, what happened? Carla had a nightmare, and the nightmare was that Tim was by this raging stream, and he was gonna fall in. And the lesson I learned is there's lots of things we don't understand. Trust, risk. I helped a little bit with that too. When in the same field in a dark night, there's a big field. I mean, it's, I don't know, quarter mile each way. At the far end, there's a burger joint of some sort. And so I had them blindfold me, put a leash on me, and they led me through this field into the restaurant, sat me down, and People were interested. That was a lesson for both of us in risk taking and trust. Other risks I saw him take early on is jumping with bikes. That was before helmets, and the time he and his friend went to some construction site, great big muddy pit. I don't know, soft mud. He managed to get into it up to his hips, and he couldn't get out. Either could his friends. He had to just wait until some guy in a truck came by, threw him a chain, and pulled him out. He involved me in his risk-taking exercises. The first time I went down a ski hill was when he took me up on one. It was a blue run, a blue hill. I had never gone down a bunny hill, and it was kind of icy on top of it. Well, I started down and I did most of it on my butt, but then near the end I got up in the skis and I was skiing down, and I didn't think it was going very fast, but I was heading towards this pavilion of some sort. So I decided to go to the tree, and that tree was hard. It came up a lot faster than I thought, but I lived. And then one of the turning points in my life was he was into gliding, and so he said, "Dad, I'll take you up." So I did, but that was an interesting time in life. I mean, the first time I put my life absolutely, completely in the hands of my son. It wasn't difficult, but it was new. Another time we were up, I don't know, one of the ski resorts, Steamboat, I think it was, in the summer. And they had these bike trails, the mountain bike trails, you know, they are pretty steep, He said, "Let's go, Dad." So he got his mountain bike, Brendan one, I got one, and he zoomed down, and I just held on and followed him down. I made it. I could have killed myself. And of course, then, on my 70th birthday, Tim and Carla took me for my first skydiving trip. And that was neat. But compassion and risk-taking are, they belong together. Tim was willing to give anyone the benefit of the doubt. He was open to everyone and everything, except for those people on the bike trail in the park that smoked. He didn't want to even try to understand them. He couldn't. You heard about the story of him balancing the cars on the dog's nose. That was an act of compassion. The risk-taking dogs. Tim went on this gig somewhere in Mexico. It was on the coast, but he had to take a boat to get into this resort. I still don't know how he got it or what. He ended up on the beach. He was telling me the story. There were wild dogs, running around. He started feeding them. And finally, he took a piece of food, put it in his mouth, and let the dog come and grab it out of his mouth. What the hell? but that's Tim. He made it. I especially valued our one conversations. We started very early with walks in the dark. It was a gift I gave him, and he would give me all the time. We called it a gift of walks in the dark, and we'd walk in the dark. And the rules of walking in the dark was he could say anything and tell me anything, and it wouldn't go beyond. We developed a lot of deep trust, and also he had an inquiring soul. And he had a trust that enabled that inquiry. He enabled him to continue to try and understand that incomprehensible world. And I guess something I learned from him, and he knew well, is he knew that the more you strive to understand an incomprehensible world, the more incomprehensible it became. He was willing to take that risk and pushed it to the edge. This was the nature of our conversations up to the end. I'll miss coming to Boulder to see him. He'd always greet me with, "Hi, Dad," and a big bear hug. And when I left, I got the same big bear hug. "Bye, Dad. I love you." And I'd say, "Goodbye, Tim. I love you." And I say, "No. Goodbye, Tim. I love you. I'll miss you."
I just want to do one more thing before I'm finished. About how, we talked about how Tim affected other people's lives. And I have a friend in Syracuse, New York, who has never met Tim, but, listened to my stories about him. And somehow felt very connected with him. And just sent me in the mail just something that she thought was nice. And it's very short, but now Catherine's gone. But she mentioned something about the stars. And so I just want to read this to you. It's very short. It's from The Little Prince. And it said, in one of the stars I shall be living. In one of them I shall be laughing. And so it will be as if all the stars were laughing when you look at the sky at night. So when you all look at this, being able to see stars here in Boulder, think of that and think of Tim. Thank you.
Well, I second a lot of people have already said today of how just grateful we are just to have everybody here, everybody who loved him, and it just feels so good just to know how much he was loved and will continue to be loved by all you, and just grateful for each one of you and your part in his life, and how you made his life better, and it seems that went both ways. Just thinking a lot about there's a lot of talk about how Tim has relationships with people, and then these people actually knew each other but didn't know they had a relationship with Tim. And I've been thinking about that. I think it's because Tim didn't know how to have a surface relationship. So he had anyone he was with, he had a deep relationship with. So it's pretty hard if you have a really deep relationship with one person and another, and put them all in the same room together. I think that's why there was quite a bit of not mixing. At least that's my opinion, because he was just a deep, loving person. You'd think he'd be kind enough to stop the rain, but it's all right. I had a hard time this week getting ready for this. I couldn't bring myself to plan anything to talk about. So the main thing I want to share is that we had Tim cremated when shortly after he died. My dad and I came here and we went to the funeral home right away, and we met with the funeral director, who was wonderful, and I said, let me know how this process works. How does this all happen? Like, give me the start to finish so I understand. And so he went and got sharing things, including saying, well, when you cremate, this is how long it takes. Some people choose to come in and go into the crematorium area while the person is being cremated. And I said, oh, God. And he said, well, it is Boulder. And then as it went on, as we were talking more, and I looked at my dad and I said, I think I'd like to do that. And he said, yes. And so the day he was cremated, we had a half hour to ourselves. Tim was there. And it was very beautiful. We had pictures of family and friends printed out that were on top of his, what I call it, a casket. I know it's not him. I know it wasn't him, but yet that was something to me. And when it came time to go on about business, they came in and started pushing me. At this point, I wasn't sure what I was going to do, and said, "Can I push him?" And continue to push him, and took him to the crematorium. And my dad was with me, and I was able to actually move him into the chamber. My dad and I pushed the button to close the chamber. I hope this isn't too much. And we were able to push the button to start the process. So I'm sharing all this because even though I feel like it's just a shell of the person that was here, it was still his shell, and it was still special to me. So on a lighter note, we picked him up later, and we decided to go out for dinner to Kitchen, one of his favorite spots. So we got a table for 4, for my dad, me, Pam, and Tim. And Tim came in with us. I didn't want to leave him in the car. So I asked, told the waiter, I said, my brother passed away. He really liked this place. And, that's why we're here. And my dad was about to explain that, yes, and he was here tonight as well. I had to nudge him one. So we had a nice dinner. Then we went out for ice cream, and Tim came along. And my dad, when he was here, some of you know, he was having some severe pain with his back, so he could really hardly walk, just in a lot of pain. Well, he was still in the ice cream shop with Tim, and Pam and I got the car, and we were out front, and said, Dad, we're out here. And waiting, and then we get a text, Tim's too heavy. We couldn't bring him out. So we went and got Dad and Tim. So the ashes, we had talked about spreading his ashes, and immediately, of course, want to spread him in the mountains. And thinking, well, anytime he was by me, we're a few hours from the ocean, you want to get to the ocean. You need to spread some of the ocean. And I'm not sure how it came about between talking to Rob and TJ, and not sure how it came about, but we thought, well, there's a lot of places that we could see where Tim would want to be, and a lot of friends who would maybe like to participate in this. And so I'm inviting whoever would like to participate to take ashes with them today. I shared the whole story before because they're still sacred to me. Even though it's not Tim, they're still very sacred to me. And it's actually really hard to think about sharing him, but I know how much you love him, and I just know, obviously he loved you. So I invite you to take some ashes with you today. What I would ask in return is that you send me a picture of where his ashes were spread. Let me know where it was, and I can share it with everybody. So I think if it keeps not raining, I will have him here. I would like it if I'll have a notebook. If you could write down your name and your email or your text, your cell phone number, so I have it. And I thank you for doing it, because I think it's something he would think was special and okay. So, yeah, Thank you all very much for today. This is Catherine, Tim's stepsister, and there's also Paul, stepbrother, who couldn't be here today. He's being live streamed. He can't talk. We can talk about him, which is actually kind of an opportunity, don't you think? And his wife is expecting a baby in the next week, so it wasn't really right for him to come out.
I just wanted to say that, you know, obviously my relationship with Tim was, I was the little sister, so he was a protector and a sort of a image of all things cool in the world. And we've as part of TJ's project here, but we've created a foundation, and we'll be hopefully doing a number of things good in the world that he would have loved and enjoyed. And if any of you want to check it out or donate or volunteer, there's a website. It's eggertfoundation.org. So I just I'm really happy that you all are here and that you had your own special relationships with him. And I don't want to get into more than that. So thank you, and have a good rest of the day, hopefully in the sun.
Okay, I just wanted to end before I think TJ will close us out first. I thought I'd just end on something funny. Is that when we were in Florida, Tim was butt dialing my mom, and I said, Tim, I texted him. I said, Tim, you keep butt dialing mom. Well, tell her I wanted to ask her something. So there, I ended on a laugh.
I don't really have anything to say. We're gonna play some music. Dave's gonna MC this, and anybody that had the pleasure of playing with Tim in their life is highly encouraged to kind of join in. You know, John, I know you've got a couple in your pocket. And you know, we've got some food, and we've got some drinks, and we're gonna put out some shot glasses. One of the things that Tim would consistently do, like we had the good fortune of having him come to our house to eat a lot, and he'd always say, "What can I bring?" And I'd say, "Just bring something to drink." And every time he brought Old Chub, this like terrible like 9% alcohol Scottish ale that we have in Colorado, and I would be like, "Dude, I've got like 11 in my fridge from the last time you were here." But we're gonna do a shot of Old Chub together, and in the spirit of this ski trip that we've enjoyed for many years together, Jeff Lyons is going to share. I think it's going to be a Susian poem with us that he wrote. So let's have some fun.
So I think we should get some Old Chub, start passing it around. Toast isn't appropriate without Old Chub.
Let's do it.
If you're not getting paid, you can do whatever you want. Like a verse. Exactly.
People set with their shots. Everyone have a little something. Toast is going to take a little while, so you might want a couple shots, actually. So as people have mentioned, Tim and I and a few of his closest friends go to Crested Butte every winter for kind of a guys' reunion weekend, male bonding. It's lots of wagering for some reason. Those guys like to gamble. I'm not much of a gambler myself, but we would gamble and play darts. We would gamble and play foosball. We would gamble and play poker, although Tim didn't play much poker. He would join us once in a while. But most importantly, we celebrated friendship. We celebrated all we had to be thankful for, and we made lots of music. We always make lots of music that weekend. It's going to be hard to fill that void because he definitely held down the fort when it came to music. It's kind of become a tradition during these winter weekends that I give a toast, and it's a Dr. Seuss type toast, so I thought it'd be appropriate to give that type of toast today in celebration of Tim. So here's a poem, and it's called, I'm not used to a microphone, they don't give me a microphone in the band. It's called A Visit from Uncle Tim. 'Twas a Saturday morning, and all through the house, Not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. I kind of borrowed that a little bit. Most of this will not be plagiarized, but when all of a sudden, on the door came a rap. It was a familiar-looking bearded man sporting a distinctive Russian fur cap. I opened the door slowly. Who had stopped by on a whim? My caution turned into a bear hug when I realized it was Tim. As I fired up the coffee, he told me of his morning fun. He had biked up Flagstaff Mountain to see the rising sun. And the night before, he had seen the moon, thought he would touch it with a laser light. But the crickets interrupted his plan. The pulsating rhythm was so damn tight. Tim taught me a lot about crickets. You'll hear it throughout the poem. I'm a little obsessed with crickets these days. He mentioned the synchronicity of fish and the choreography of birds in the sky. I knew I needed another cup of coffee to have any chance of keeping up with this guy. I returned to the table, happy to see he had taken out an acoustic guitar. He proceeded to sing every word to every song of Jesus Christ Superstar. I think that was his favorite rock opera. His musical genius woke the kids. Down the stairs they came, 1, 2, 3. 'Twas the Pied Piper in our midst, the master of creativity. He told tales, jokes, and riddles while petting the dog that had settled at his side. Tim was good with dogs. As Tim's creative genius unfolded, our children's eyes with wonder grew wide. He recorded crickets the night before, made lots of recordings from dusk till 11, said he could predict the exact temperature, counting the chirps for 15 seconds and adding 37. This is true. He invited the kids to stop by later. He wanted to show Max his new cam, and he had built a new recording device, so after, they would jam. For the girls, he had planned something special. He shared his scheme with a twinkle in his eye. They would superglue a silver dollar to his sidewalk and watch the fruitless efforts of those who walked by, which he did on a regular basis. As I watched the man before me, his unfiltered wonder and childlike side, I felt him reignite within me a spirit that had long since died. He was a mix of Pastorius and Kramer. Jaco Pastorius, one of the bass players of all time, for those who don't know. He was a mix of, my wife said, who's Pastorius? So I thought I should add that. He was a mix of Pastorius and Kramer. From pure goodness, this man was born, with a heart too big, a biking shirt too small, and a mustache made for porn. As the morning slipped into noon, I knew the magic must end. He rose from the table and bid us farewell, the spontaneous Russian-capped godsend. He hopped on his bike and pedaled away as I watched with my 3 kids and wife, filled with gratitude then and gratitude now for the gifts that he brought to our life. As he faded from view, I swear I heard crickets and felt blessed that to our life he came. He rekindled my soul and gave me new eyes through which I'll never see the world the same. So let's raise a glass to Tim, our beloved son, friend, and brother. As we travel through life, we carry you with us, for in this life we will never find another.
Oh, old Chub! Old Chub!
It's terrible.
Hey, just a quick note to all the musicians in the house. We want everybody to play, and it's going to be hard for me to come by and grab everybody, so please just come up and we'll accommodate. And, we're pretty good at sharing our gear, so don't feel like if you're comfortable playing somebody else's stuff, let us know if you want to bring on your own stuff. But please just come up and we'll figure stuff out. if that makes sense. Yeah. Right, it should be clown. I love that stuff. No petties. He hated playing petties. Light? Play light.
So who's emceeing? Can I just put my name on the list or something like that? And there's a
Let's do it. Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely. More. Yes, yeah. Whenever, however many you want. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Totally fluid.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for coming up and saying it.
This is such a beautiful.
I know. It's the wedding he never had.
I don't know what people are talking about. I love those child. That one little kid didn't like it very well.
Dude, are you packing up?
I gotta go.
Okay. You want to play light and then go? Let's do that. Let's get Chris. Hey, Scott, will you grab Chris when you're on the mic? And then we'll grab Ben, and then we'll hit it. Bummer.
Those are some.
Yeah, for sure. What a character. Yeah. How are you? Good to see you. Good there. Yeah, it's kind of nice. Yeah, it's a good crew, that's for sure. You know?
How are you?
We gotta play a little light for him. I love that stuff. No problem. Sorry? I think we're good, man. Thank you. Yeah, that's great.
Chris Alimo to the stage. Chris Alimo, please pick up a white paging telephone.
We need a rhythm section too. We need a rhythm section too. Don't forget that. Yeah, anytime you'd like to play. Oh, how fun.
He actually came to Boulder.
Awesome. I'm Dave. Yeah. There's another guy who's playing. Is that a sax? Yeah. Cool. There's another sax player named Neil who's here too. Do you know him? Okay, cool. He's got like, do you like jazz? Oh, cool. So he's got like a crew that likes to play jazz that's going to come up in a second. And then, so whatever you want to do, if you want to just hop in with us. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Cool.
I just brought a video gave to his dad of us. We went to high school with the jazz band in New Orleans.
Awesome.
Down there. He actually won the solos.
Wow.
I got that on the video.
Oh, I want to see that. That's great. We're gonna play light maybe. Yeah.
You want me to play or you got players?
You want to sing? Two guitars.
I'm thinking we could get probably 5 guitars, just a couple of guitars.
So yeah, I mean, that's interesting.
Hey. Oh yeah, thanks for being here. Hey. Nice to meet you. Yes. Do you play as well? Okay, cool. So whenever you want to play. Okay, great. All right, that's a common theme. So what we'll do is we'll play one song and then bring up the jazz and let everybody figure it out. Because I'm not a jazz guy.
This might be
There's no hanging fruit for us.
That's awesome.
That's special.
Turn that down. Awesome. Oh, that's killer. Can I take 2? Oh my god. That's incredible. Yeah, that one's hot. Check. This one's good. That's great. Thank you so much for that. Hey Ben, wherever Ben is. Good job, dude. We need Ben.
My wife is
Start, he'll come. Something will happen.
Check. Check 1, 2. So we're gonna play one song, and then there's a bunch of people who love to play jazz with Tim, and so we're gonna turn it over to whoever likes to play jazz. Just come on up and hang out and grab something to play. Does that sound all right? Cool. Hi, Mally. How are you? I almost didn't recognize you so tall. How you been? Wow. Do you remember Tim? Remember coming over and hearing us play on the porch? Yeah. Do what? She can do it. I think on the brown chord. See that brown? You're going into that. Oh, I see. Inside of that. Check. Hey, Scott. Cool. Everybody knows. Check. Can you, yeah.
Somebody knows that, right?
Totally. Can you give me a little bit of this?
More in the monitor?
Yeah, that'd be good. Check. 1, 2. Check. 1, 2.
for 13 years or more. There's a face in the corner and it's staring right through my bones. Happy now, cause you never won't be alone. All there the music's playing, floating in the morning glow. A gathering crowd begins to let the water flow. A gathering crowd begins to let the water flow. Cause there's a light that shines, it's neither yours nor mine. Carry it by our side, walking down the road. Yeah, the winter afternoon is cutting through the southern air. Sliding through the table and a sipping at the local fair. All day people turn their shoulders, it is more than they can bear. They would rather remove than show any sign of despair. They would rather remove than show any sign of despair. Cause there's a light that shines, it's neither yours nor mine. We carry it by our side, walking down the road. Yeah, there's a light that shines, it's neither yours nor mine. Carry it by our side, walking down the road. Sand. Then playing my guitar with an ice cold drink in my hand. Yeah, laughing in the afternoon as our minds expand. Instead of sitting in the shadows while you make us a one last stand. Instead of sitting in Savannah while you make us a one last stand. 'Cause there's a light that shines, neither yours nor mine. Carry it by our side, walking down the road. Yeah, there's a light that shines, neither yours nor mine. Carry it by our side, walking down the road. Yeah. All jazz players. We got Neil right here with a sax. Maybe we should all assemble by Neil, whoever wants to play. Cool. You got one? There's also a stand-up around here.
Where's Steve?
He says, what can you do?
Simple blues.
Here's a mic, you can blow that horn in the mic. I can blow.
I don't need the mic. Probably don't. No. I don't need the mic. I'm not Tim. I do not need the mic.
Totally cool. You bet. This guy's got it.
This one?
Yeah.
Somebody told the story about it.
It's in that
That's a regular.
You want to play with No, he's got, that's an electric. Yeah. You want to play with the guitar? Yeah. Okay. No, you're good. Chris has it. You'd love it.
Somebody told the story about.
Old Duck, we just played it.
Oh, you were there.
It's great. It's a good one. It's really super fun.
It's like,
yeah,
it's from the same album.
Oh, okay. Yeah, deal, right?
Yeah. It's a heartfelt ceremony.
Yeah, it was good. What are we going to start?
Cold dock we can't do? Yeah, let's do the cold dock and then we'll figure out something after. Like, little sunflower has how long has 3 chords, 4 chords.
Which I made specifically. Yeah, thank you.
We just, yeah. What Prince and he just stopped visiting that.
Well, every time you're off of Prince, they say, no, 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 no. Like, oh, yeah, I got it. Yeah, I dropped this and dropped that.
Well, let's start with cold dock.
Yeah, I was like,
oh, you got it.
Here's a beat up. Oh,
That's good. That's
Just going through that.
goes through all there, but well, you can use the tuner. I mean, you can help yourself.
That's all right. Why and your buddies know I usually put. I don't know why there were so many wagers happening.
Should be the A flat. Sounds much better.
What's the second round?
I think the guy who yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's definitely better.
It's supposed to be major.
You can dial it. No, it definitely should be triangular. The guy who played it on the record, it was like the first time they ever played it. It was a mistake. Oh, really? Because it doesn't go with the chords at all. I agree. Yeah, A flat.
Okay, so play the whole thing a couple times.
Where is this thing?
Well, no, but then there's the E flat, major 7.
Give me the chords.
E flat major. Oh yeah, that's right.
F7? F major.
No, you know cold dock.
I don't remember it.
F7 to B flat 7, back and forth, and then it goes to D flat.
No, I just want to. I think so. I don't care.
What do you want, man? Okay. So needy.
Going into this.
Nice. Yes.
Awesome. Whoa, man. That sounds like. Are we in F7?
Those are the last 3 chords. D flat.
How long does it take to repeat that? D flat, D flat, F. Just once.
D flat.
One time, the flat.
And then F7.
Okay, and then how fast it? Oh, okay, but is the B flat F7? Where are we in the form then? Okay. When I had that at?
That registered 2 major seconds.
Okay, this one.
Like a triad. That's basic.
Major 7.
Top that. Good job, guys.
Is there another one?
Or
should we give it up? More.
No, one more. What else can we do? What? How about like Freddie the Freeloader? It's just simple blues.
Oh, that's great.
And we could do some harmonies because I know the harmonies. And you know Freddie the Freeloader.
Oh, that would be cool.
So teach him. B flat. So it's a blues. And the only thing tricky is the first ending goes to the A flat 7 at the end. So it's blues, so it goes B flat 7, E flat 7, and then it goes F7, E flat 7, and then on the first ending, then it goes to A flat 7 for the last 2 bars.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But for the second ending, second ending, it goes back to the B flat 7 like a normal blues.
Okay.
He's got it.
So blues and alternates ending on flat 7 and another
So you know Freddie, and so do you want to play the melody part? I'll play the harmony. So it starts on for us A. I can play the melody. Okay, I'll play the melody. We'll figure it out. It's in concert B flat, and then the only tricky thing is on the first ending. The last 2 bars are the A flat 7. Yeah. Sound great, man.
Lovely. What are we doing?
All right, we got it. Yeah, we're doing Friday.
Hey Ben. Yeah. Did you say you had shakers? Yeah, look at that gray bag there.
You want to do an intro of like one chorus or something of an intro, whatever you want to do.
There it is. Oh yeah, it's the band cooler.
Want to do like
I got it.
one chorus of intro and then I'll come in.
So he says walking, is that about right?
Yeah, walking.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got a whole cooler. That? So Dan, do you play it? Yeah, a ton. Yeah, he just might come here and we play from porch and back porch. That's it? Yeah. Got it. Yeah. Got it.
Got it? Oh, we could just start right on it.
You like it?
Oh, nice. Okay, we're going to start right on the head. Tommy. Here we go.
Ready?
Yes. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. One more jazz tune?
You know, I used to play the timber. You guys know any Monk? Because we used to play Monk all the time.
Yeah.
In high school.
Oh, well, that's getting a little more.
We would need it.
How about,
well, you've got a lefty, you know, if you need a bass player and it's something that's.
Well, that's true. But how about, you know, Tim used to love Little Sunflower, which is really easy. It's only like 4 chords.
It's a D minor sort of vamp until the bridge, right?
Hi, Ella.
This is like miracles.
You sound good, but you sound very good. Yeah. Thank you. I know.
I remember sitting on the deck of the Hollywood with sunflowers, maybe that's what So everybody who came up to the front door, it was myself, RT, and Tim. And you just had this girl in the background, and the wires got all the kids like, what? Yeah,
And that's kind of how I met like a lot of my friends. Just
You guys know where it is in the book or no?
You know what? I think it's in the second.
Oh, is it really?
But it's nice to like an upperclassman for once and all that. Yeah. So it's been good. I'm glad. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Yeah, you sound. Yeah. Yes. Really? No way.
Oh yeah.
That's fine. Yeah. So yeah, I was taking it for him. But yeah, it was great. All right, sounds good.
Bye.
Yeah, I know he liked that too. We split it.
Yeah, the melody is and then if you want to play a starting on the beat. You want to play the melody or you want to play the harmony? All right, cool. Yeah, you're doing great.
Got it?
Tim would play a funky bass line.
He would, but you know, whatever you like.
No pressure, you can do sort of a D minor groove. He's been a great bass line.
What would be you want to start something like with the left hand? What kind of thing would there's like a standard thing that Tim would do, like it's kind of Latin-y, it's not totally funky.
It's kind of like a Latin, like a bossa nova almost.
What?
Like a bossa nova?
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, that's
nice.
smooth right there.
Yeah.
I like that.
great, and thank you.
I don't know. You guys want to stop, or I'd love to keep playing.
I don't care either way. I could do another one.
Yeah, I'll play.
All right, one more.
Maybe we should let it in. That sounded great.
Okay, I'm good.
Super fun. What other? There's bound to be more musicians here too. We should bring more people up.
Yeah.
Do you want to say like into the mic, like, hey, anybody else want to play?
All right. That was hopefully a lovely beginning to our jazz portion or other musical portion. So any other musicians here who want to come up and play, please come up and join us. And bring the band a beer when you come up. Just kidding. Nobody's listening. I could sing now, nobody would care.
It's your chance.
Oh, that's cool. So never read.
How about compared to what?
Yeah, Eddie Harris.
Let's do it. Eddie, you'll find it.
I know, but you can totally
You'll find it.
He'll sing it, and then you just solo.
Who's gonna sing?
No, Dave will sing.
I'll sing
You're
it.
gonna sing it.
Sure.
You sing it, and then you solo.
Okay, what are the changes?
Yeah, what are the changes?
Just F7?
Just F.
There's this walk up. There's this walk up part that goes up.
F7? Up to what?
Goes up, walks up chromatic.
Yeah.
Tired old lady.
Yeah.
Oh, you're gonna sing that?
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, we're gonna fuck this too.
This is like, this is your.
We don't have a
be
chart
off the
to
hook.
show
Oh,
it.
now I'm
So
gonna
it's
channel
F7.
Do you have a cowbell in there?
It starts out in E flat.
Do you have a cowbell in there?
Oh, it does.
But don't worry about that part, because it's really short.
Okay, I'll come and let you.
I'm gonna go grab the beer. I'll be right back.
I don't have any sticks. Oh, look, there's a good Ooh, that's hurt.
Oh, yeah, I like that.
Okay. You don't have an extra stick? Oh, yeah. All you do broken one. Ready? What? Not guitar. Well, maybe I should. That's a good point. Yeah, perform. Well organized. Can you give me some quiet for this one? I think it's. What channel is it? This is. Yeah, it's up.
It's kind of like the acoustic.
Over there, it's nothing. Okay. Try it. See you guys later.
Just point to you.
Do tell me if I'm not doing it. I think I.
Let us know when you want to play. Anybody? We'll keep playing.
All right.
And it's
All
true.
right, let's do it. We're gonna mess this song up. This is a whole new
Oh my God.
That's why I was laughing when you were like, this thing's awful. Like bring it to the musicians and like, dude, we got like 43 right behind you. Hold on for a second, hold on for a second. Oh, hold on, whoa, wait, stop that train. Hold on, let me just tune up real quick. Don't you take that train out the station.
Jeff, you sound great. Sitting over there very, very humbly. I had a really nice chat with Ella. Yeah. She's cool.
Oh, she's awesome.
And I said hi to Maya, and she's very sweet also. Great kids. And Max is very handsome. Probably killing the girls.
Exactly.
Yeah, where's he going to school?
Eddie Harris.
Oh, in Minnesota.
Yes, yes.
Wow. You got some great kids, man.
I know, how do you do that?
Freddie,
Oh, don't
Freddie's
my
awesome.
cowbell.
Freddie was here this weekend and just left at like 1 o'clock, and I'm like, I've been coming here. It's just been so
emotional.
So
Let's blow it out in the song. Let's blow it out.
Yeah, let's blow it out.
Did she go back to college?
No, she graduated a year ago.
She did?
But she's a real reporter for this summer for the yeah. Oh yeah.
More cowbell. Chris, say when. Say when.
Another line, line of love. Twist the chin, push and shove. Possession is the only stage. Hanging up, the rock and the sugar fly. We all want to stop. It's all about y'all. She didn't lie, try to make it real compared to what. Oh, no. ball. Boys don't know what they're fighting for. I call them up and ask for a reason. When they call it back twice and they call it season. A couple all took the better stuff in their problem. She even now trying to make it real compared to what. Oh, oh, oh. Slaughterhouse here killing hogs, roasted children killing the frogs. Some old rednecks are pulling logs, tired old days in the kitchen with dogs. I hate thinking out of running that stinking fight. She's giving now, try to make it real compared to what. Church on Sunday, sleeping for now. Getting him and the wrath of God. Reaching back, tell you what's right. Keep you up, baby, sink you out the night. I heard the Lord, I'm thinking, He did a night, try to make it real compared to what.
Strong. Oh, I know. That's awesome. Yeah, you guys sounded great. Okay, I'm gonna quit on a high note. His dad is interested in doing something.
Good, let's do it.
But, probably not.
What do you like to play?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I play strange stuff. that on what instrument? Would be brought the kazoo. On any instrument?
I've got one in the box.
Hey, I'm Chris. We met once before. You were visiting Boulder.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, like 10 years ago, maybe even 15 years ago.
I play strange stuff and may not make sense to me. I
There was a
don't think
highlight
you can play any
where we had 4 notes syncopated.
harmonic instrument with it to get so
There was a mime melt. There's some mime melts. Yeah, like my body was detached from things for a minute. They were like, oh! I'm on roller skates. I'm on roller skates.
Can't wait to hear it.
Do you want a mic? Do you sing this well?
No.
Yeah, definitely. This is right up your alley. Like Carolina Moon? That sounded like Carolina Moon.
It just is.
That sounded great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, thank you. It's different. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. Oh, he would be so stoked if he walked in like, no. Really? He was great at that. He was great at picking stuff up. Well, it's funny because we play a ton here, and he'll be like, figure out off key. Which string goes? Listen to it. You know which one's off key. Is it one tune up? Is it the beat? My daughter Lily, you know Ben probably, Tim's dad. Yeah. I'm not collecting cans. Yeah. the bowling alley and hope for the best. Try to keep it straight. Whoa, wow, triple bouncer. Except those up and then they run and down. Yeah. Don't leave the ball in the back of the net. Okay, well, I think we're gonna do it.
I see. I love. And I see. Or there's just this connection. I mean, because I played with him.
I'm conversing with my stepbrother here. Paul, are you going to hang on? I can shut it down. I think there's going to be more music. Do you want to hang on and watch?
Are there other
I'll leave it running for you. It's no harm to me, so I just didn't know if you were hanging on there or not. So I'll leave it running. They're about to start playing again, I think.
Oh yeah, let's get him.
Guys, a chance to have sounded great, man. That jazz stuff. Really? It's hard. But I thought you were like, I was familiar with yeah.
Full like they start with everybody else.
Yeah.
I didn't embarrass myself too
You can make other things sound jazzy.
Yeah, right. That's what I prefer. Oh yeah, no problem. Play some flatted notes here and there. Depends how it's you.
Yeah,
I like her too.
So yeah, I'm bummed that I didn't get these Memphis I got these tickets and just put them out there and whatever. But have you ever heard of Raj Mahal?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it was kind of from
Free Hawk, right?
yeah, from me. Yeah, I do too. That's why I was wondering if you knew him from the Chicago connection. I'd say no, he's a instructor for the connection. The guy's fucking hilarious. I know he's a college professor of music. And he's amazing with his students. He comes in from beginners. And he taught kids and they're doing this funky. They're doing a funky play. He can just kind of run out. So he was like total orchestra guitar.
started out, you do this, and it's kind of like a loop.
That's definitely one of those things.
But by the end of the day, he had this amazing
Yeah.
you get it. The sound is incredible. It's funny to see too, he's a funny guy.
Yeah.
So his phone starts going, and he goes, oh, my wife's calling. My wife's calling.
That's sick.
Yeah, I know, because he knows his wife without lyrics. Where's my phone? I need to call my phone and find it.
Back out of the driveway.
And I guess I was reading the lineup, and it looks like it's a lottery. It's like so-and-so Garcia with a big line. Garcia was her middle name. Sunshine Garcia.
So I just
Wilson. Sunshine Garcia Wilson. So Sunshine Garcia sounds like what he would name a baby. Because there's like Mountain Girl and other daughters.
Kind of felt like
I need to Google it to find out what
anniversary and all that. Yeah. Next year, I'm not. I just like
what is it?
Yep.
It's all good.
It'd be my holiday too.
Yeah.
that kind of
Wakes up.
Spot right here.
When you look over there, almost like it's I like the results of it. Yeah. And I don't mind the acting doing it, but it's the time that I wish I had kind of had a life where what I did.
No, that's a great I think you're right.
Well, it's up to you. You ain't gonna do it by yourself.
Right. You don't have to say, I'm not doing any more work.
In a sense,
Yeah.
too,
I'm changing my work life so that I don't I'm gonna get another beer.
I'm gonna go get it.
you take that shit and used it. That's the kind of thing.
Totally right. Yeah, totally right.
All right, Paul, I'm going to shut down. I think it might be, music might be over.